Why older women fall out of love with their husbands. Why do some women, after a lifetime of marriage, suddenly begin to feel cold toward the men they once loved? For many seniors, this is a quiet truth, often whispered about but rarely explained fully. It's not about nagging, moods, or sudden changes. It's something deeper, something that builds slowly over the years, until one day it can no longer be hidden. In the early years, couples are bound together by shared goals, raising children, building careers, paying off the home, preparing for retirement. These goals give both partners a sense of direction and purpose. But as the years pass, when the children are grown, careers end, and responsibilities fade, that shared sense of purpose often vanishes. For some men, this shift is hardly noticed. They may be perfectly content to settle into routine, passing the days in silence or comfort. For many women, however, that lack of forward momentum feels unbearable. It isn't simply boredom, it's the heaviness of living beside someone who no longer dreams or plans with them. Without purpose, the connection feels hollow. The relationship begins to drift. Women want to feel like they are still building something together, a project, a memory, a legacy, or even just a daily rhythm that feels meaningful. When that sense of partnership disappears, they often feel like passengers in a life that no longer belongs to them. The resentment doesn't come from their husbands doing something wrong, but rather from doing nothing at all. Alongside this loss of purpose, communication also begins to fade. What once were long conversations full of laughter and curiosity slowly shrink into short, functional exchanges. "Dinner's ready," or "Did you take your pills?" The deep, heart-to-heart talks are replaced with silence. Over time, silence starts to feel safer than speaking, especially when past attempts at sharing have been met with dismissal, misunderstanding, or indifference. But silence comes at a cost. It builds walls between two people. For a wife, feeling unheard gradually becomes feeling invisible. And once she feels invisible, her heart begins to retreat. Another quiet cause of distance is emotional neglect. This doesn't always happen through cruelty, but rather through complacency. After decades together, some husbands assume their wives already know they are loved, appreciated, and respected. So they stop saying it. They stop noticing the small things, or asking about feelings, or offering tenderness. The routines continue, but the connection slowly fades. For many women, this feels like a slow form of abandonment. They wonder silently, "Am I still loved?" And when that question goes unanswered for years, hurt begins to harden into bitterness. Emotional stonewalling deepens that divide. Some men, raised to believe that showing emotion was weakness, retreat into silence. Instead of engaging when their wives bring up concerns, they withdraw. Instead of sharing how they feel, they deflect or shut down. Over time, this silence becomes heavier than anger, because at least anger shows engagement. Silence makes a wife feel invisible, as though she's speaking to a wall. And when words no longer feel welcome, when presence feels absent, a woman begins to wonder if she still matters in her husband's life. By later years, these layers of lost purpose, broken communication, quiet neglect, and stonewalling often shape the emotional landscape of a marriage. For women, the realization doesn't usually come from sudden bitterness. It comes from finally having the time and space to notice what's been missing all along. With children grown and pressures lifted, they begin to ask, "Is this really all there is?" That question isn't born of selfishness, but of longing for companionship, conversation, laughter, respect, and genuine presence. The truth is, love in later life doesn't have to fade. It can be renewed, but only with intention. Healing doesn't require grand gestures. It comes from small, consistent care. Listening deeply, asking questions, sharing memories, dreaming new dreams, no matter how small. The spark of connection can be reignited, even in old age, when both partners choose to show up with attention, affection, and curiosity. For women, it's important to remember, your longing is valid. Your feelings are not selfish. After a lifetime of caring for others, you also deserve to be cared for, to be heard, and to be seen. For men, the opportunity lies not in looking back with regret, but in choosing, even now, to show up again. Marriage in later years can still hold joy, laughter, and closeness, but only if both hearts remain open.